Welcome to the Black Ledger, a record not of heroes, but of accounts. Here, games are not played, they are examined. Legends are not taken at face value, they are weighed, logged, cross-referenced. What you're about to hear is not myth, it is testimony, waiting for evidence. This is the Black Ledger, and every story begins with a debt. By the time the Grudge-Kin returned to the sky, we were no longer survivors. We were a system. Industry no longer belonged to any single hold or clan. It was standardized, measured, replicated, every process recorded, every failure catalogued, every success reduced to principle. Ore became steel. Steel became structure. Structure became motion. What had once taken generations to rediscover was now rebuilt with intent. Power flowed again, not recklessly, not brightly, but reliably. The way stone remembers pressure. When the first void yards were raised above Forgefall, they were not monuments. They were tools, unadorned, functional, brutally sufficient. The faster-than-light drive was not named for hope, or destiny, or gods long forgotten. It was logged, tested, refined, lit, and when the burn finally took hold beneath our star, Smidya, the Grudge-Kin, did not cheer. We confirmed. Survey fleets followed, then industrial fleets, then doctrine. Expansion was not a dream, it was a correction. The galaxy would learn us not as wanderers, but as a presence. One that arrived prepared, one that built before it spoke, one that kept records longer than empires kept memory. By every outward measure, this is where the story could begin. The return to the stars, the opening of the Black Ledger, accounts unpaid. But the ledger does not allow conclusions without context. Before the Forgefall void yards, before faster than light, before the certainty, we must go back to what forged the Grudge-Kin, back to the closed sky, back to the betrayal that taught us never to forget. Wait a minute, let me show you. Before the ledger, there was the forge, and before the forge, there was work so great it made the sky seem small. The Grudge-Kin were not born to crawl. We were made to build. Legends speak of an age when our forges did not end at bedrock, and our halls did not stop at mountain roots. We shaped stone, then metal, then light. We reached the stars not as pilgrims, but as craftsmen who had simply run out of ceiling. Then came what the old runes first named loss. Later generations would call it war. But the oldest vault runes use a colder word: theft. The theft of power. The theft of access, the theft of memory. For a long time we blamed what stood closest to the wound. We feared the green things that came with chains and claws, raiders, slavers, beast binders from the dark beyond the holds. We feared the pale ones who arrived wrapped in silk and courtesy. Quiet contracts, open palms, closed doors. They took from us. That much was true. But truth is not always the same as cause. The deeper stories agree on the method, even when they disagree on the face. The sky went dark, the machines fell silent, and the last lights died one by one, like embers drowned in ash. We woke to a world that still had mountains, but no longer had power. A hard reset. Not to ruin, to humiliation. For generations we lived as our ancestors would have laughed to imagine. Bronze tools, oil lamps, mining jigs that pulled ore by muscle and patience alone, hand forges that could not remember how to sing. The knowledge of the stars became superstition. Words like ship and engine were repeated without meaning, like prayers spoken in a dead tongue. Only one thing survived intact: the tale of betrayal. It did not live in books, it lived in mouths. In vaulted caverns where the ceiling was the closest thing we had to the old sky, we became a people of watchfulness. We built our cities facing upward. We carved openings into stone not to breathe, but to look. Because even in the lowest halls, the Grudge-Kin felt it. We came from something more, and something took it from us. That feeling became our law, memory over mercy. Industry as faith, expansion as reckoning. We stopped asking the names of gods and started keeping titles instead. The first hammer, the unstruck anvil, he who tempered stone. Names invite ownership. We had already been owned once, so we worked. Century after century, we rebuilt not from instruction, but from instinct. Ore returned, then steel, then current, then fire that no longer ate the air. And with every recovered principle, the old stories stopped sounding like myth and started sounding like evidence. At last, we returned to the surface of Forgefall and looked into the true sky again, not with wonder, with recognition. We were not meant to be trapped. In the year 2200, the first faster-than-light burn was lit beneath our star, Smithia, and the Black Ledger opened to a new section. Accounts unpaid, we do not forget, we record. We hammered bright beneath the stone, with lantern gold and iron tone, till greenskins came with chain and claw, and took our young by raiders' law. Then pointy ears in silks arrived, with quiet words that looked like time.
We hammered bright beneath the stone, with lantern gold and iron tone, till greenskins came with chain and claw, and took our young by raiders' law. Then pointy ears in silks arrived, with quiet words that looked like kind. They signed our names, they sealed our doors, and left us less than we were before. We feared the green, we feared the pale, the beast-born charm, the silk-soft tail. But fear is smoke and truth is stone. The deepest wound was kin-song grown. We curse the thieves, we curse the night, we curse the stars that stole our light. But deeper still, the truth was won by kin we named Khazad-dûn. Oh, turn ye wheel and grind, ye sing, for nothing's true the way it seems. The sky was closed, the fire grew dim, not by a foe, but next of kin. Oath breakers, sky sealers, kin sunder, those who close the sky.
Champions and the founding of Oathmark Hold. When the first holds were planned beyond Forgefall, the ledger did not begin with maps. It began with names. Champions were not chosen for purity of blood or symmetry of virtue. They were chosen because they endured where others broke. Each carried a different scar. Each kept a different failure. One had held a tunnel when the ceiling came down. Another had spoken against a council and survived the vote. A third had never retreated and paid for it. They were sent not to conquer, but to settle. Oathmark Hold was carved where the stone resisted, deliberately, a test of intent. If the rock would not yield, neither would the claim. The work was slow, ritualized. Every beam set was sworn. Every breach sealed with record before stone. Oaths were not spoken aloud. They were etched, because an oath remembered is stronger than an oath shouted. It was during these early cuttings that the Forge Prophet's words first reached the outer holds. Not in person, never in person. They came carried by messengers, etched in alloy slates, identical in weight and script. Build as if you will be judged by what remains. Some called the Forge Prophet a visionary, others unnecessary restraint. A few whispered that no single mind should hold so many ledgers, but no hold ignored the words. At Oathmark, the champions read them in silence, then returned to work. Stone does not argue with prophecy, it only tests. And so Oathmark Hold took shape, not as a monument, but as a promise. A place where oaths were heavier than walls, where champions did not rule but stood witness. The ledger notes this without ornament. This was not the height of the Grudge-Kin's power. It was the moment they learned how to place it. Thank you for taking the time to open the Black Ledger. If you found value here, consider subscribing and ringing the bell so the next entry finds you when it's recorded. This saga will return to old debts, buried truths in the forces that shaped the Grudge-Kin long before the stars reopened. I hope you'll come back to go deeper into the ledger. We do not forget. We record